Hello there, Bonnie.
Thomas,
Hi,
you gonna
how are
record
you?
this?
Hey, Charlie.
Good morning. Yes, he's got it recording.
Let's see here, guys. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can share the screen without any difficulty. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay, that's working. We have about a minute. Now, just so you all know, I am recording. And, okay, it's 8 o'clock. So good morning, everybody. Thank you very, very much for hopping on and joining the Atomic Habits call. Hi, Robert. So, yeah, there'll be a few people probably bouncing in here at the end. Please mute yourself. And then when there's opportunities to share a little bit, you can unmute yourself so you can talk and then mute yourself back, okay? That way I'm not having to manage all the individuals. But good morning and welcome to Atomic Habits. So what, I took the two words, atomic and habit, and separate them and said, okay, so what is atomic? And if you look up atomic, it says the smallest particle of a chemical element that retains its chemical properties. A habit is a routine or behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur subconsciously. So when we look at atomic habit, we're going to relate to atomic from a psychological point of view versus a chemical point of view. Make sense? So from a psychological point of view, when we look at atomic habit, we could say it's a fixed way of thinking, willing, feeling, and being acquired through repetition, and it all is at the level of experience. So if we're going to get to the atomic level of a habit, we got to get to what drives the habit. So is there anybody who can see the screen that would be willing to generate this first screen for me, this first slide? Just unmute yourself and jump right in. Because this is what we all want to do at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Hey, it's Bonnie. I'll do it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You're welcome. Getting to the atomic level, what drives the habit? We have a hard time thinking of habits as anything other than actions. Atomic habits is about thinking of habits as thoughts, feeling, willing, and ways of being all very marginal. Can I read that again? I don't know if I got that right. It didn't make sense to me. Atomic habits is about thinking of habits as thoughts, feeling, willing, and ways of being all very marginal.
So let me generate it for you.
Okay.
Atomic habits is about thinking of habits as thoughts, feeling, willing, and ways of being, and all very marginal. So in other words, your thoughts, your feeling, your willing, and ways of being, these habits, because remember, we're thinking of these habits as thoughts, feeling, willing, and ways of being. It's all very marginal. It's not like these great big thoughts you have, or you wake up with this great big feeling. You say, oh my God, I feel so. No, they're very marginal. They may even be unnoticeable. That's how we're thinking of atomic habits. Does that communicate? I probably could have written it better, but does it communicate?
Now it does.
Okay, good.
All right. Unnoticeable, in fact, without taking the time to stop and investigate. Searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything we do. Break down everything to see where you can improve any part by 1%.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Bonnie.
Sure.
Atomic habits every day. It's easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. I'm going to say that again. It's easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment. What does that mean? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, Robert. You don't have to raise your hand.
Like a goal, like a goal would be a defining moment, like I lose 10 pounds.
Very good. So you step on the scale, you say, yay, I lost 10 pounds. That might be a defining moment.
Right.
Or for those of you who have had transformational experiences, Sunday at 4:25 in the afternoon, this is a defining moment. Or, for instance, you have a, God forbid, a car accident, or, I lost a cousin about a week ago who died. That's a defining moment. Death, births, these are all big deals, marriages, etc. So it's easy to overestimate the importance of those. To say, oh my gosh, that was such a big, monumental shift in my life. And then underestimate the value of the small, tiny improvements that could be made on a daily basis. 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. Somebody take the next slide. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Why don't you take the next slide for me? Will you do that?
Yeah, do I just read from the top?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. When we repeat 1% errors day after day, by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. It's the accumulation of many missteps, a 1% decline here and there that eventually leads to a problem. Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment, but over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations.
Yeah, very good. So as you were generating that, I was thinking, I thought, when we repeat 1% errors day after day, by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. I thought of my car. And this is something that shows up for me often. And so as we're dealing with atomic habits, I'm going to take on my car. So here's what happens. I get in my car. I generally have a cup of coffee, or not coffee, a cup of tea, water, something I have with me. It's very easy for me to put paper and junk in my car. Like I'll just lay it there and I'll say to myself, I'll pick it up when I get out. Then I stop the car and I'm usually on the phone or racing to my next thing, as many of you who know me know that that's the case. And I'll make up, oh, I'll come back and take care of that. And then before I know it, a week's gone by and my car is trashed. I might exaggerate that a little bit, but you kind of get the picture. So I see that as a 1% error. There's, I know people like my brother Ron, his car is immaculate all the time. Makes me crazy. I get in his car and I think, he's as busy as I am. How the hell does he keep his car so straight? But he never gets out of his car and leaves anything behind. He always takes it out. Well, okay, so there's that. Anything that you all see for yourself? Can you see any little 1%ers that just showed up for you?
I actually do that with my car, where I keep a little roll of trash bags.
Yeah.
So that, because during the day, you do put things places and you live in your car.
You
So,
do. So Melanie, what that would be called, what you just described, is a system, which is awesome. And we're gonna talk about that a little later. But what you've done is a 1% better, a 1% shift. You said, hey, the only way I'm going to keep my car straight is if I have a system that keeps my car straight. And the system is I have a little trash bag there. I fill it up and I take it out when I get out. That's kind of like your system, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Good for you. Anybody else? Do you see any of the 1%ers, 1% errors that you have?
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
What's yours, Robert?
Well, it could be. Let's just choose one.
Yeah, just choose.
Well,
Don't give us your whole list. We know.
well, it would be like going to the gym.
Yeah.
Don't have time. I don't have time.
Yeah.
Don't have time is a reason why not to go do that.
That's very, very good. And it segues right into outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. So what does that mean? It means that my outcomes happen after the fact. So it's lagging behind my habits. You get what you repeat. Your body is a lagging measure of your eating and exercise habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter, hello, Thomas, is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. Somebody want to take the next slide, please?
Charlie,
Thank you, Charlie.
breakthrough moments are usually the result of many previous actions, which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. This pattern shows up everywhere. Cancer spends 80% of its life undetectable, then takes over the body in months. Bamboo can barely be seen for the first 5 years, but explodes 90 feet in the air within 6 weeks.
Wow. Really crazy, right? Breakthrough moments are usually the result of many previous actions which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. Does anybody have a major change that shows up where you see all those previous actions that built up to that major change?
Jean,
Yeah, Gene.
you know, I'm thinking of this more in the, well, I guess I'll just say it.
Yes.
Back in the 1%, thinking about the 1% changes or habit changes, I have slowly let sugar come in more and more into my life.
There you go. So you took sugar out.
Yep.
And then every now and then you'll do a little here and a little there. Go ahead.
And now now I have it all the time, every day. And my body is showing it in so many ways. Oh, it's affecting me. So it's not a breakthrough like in a positive
No, I understand.
breakthrough, but to see it, how my body is, inflammation, it hurts. I'm not happy with, how my body looks. I'm overweight. I've stopped hardly ever exercising. So I see that as this accumulation.
Yeah, very good. It's the repeat of a 1% error day after day.
Yep. Toxic
Very,
health.
yeah, very great. Thanks, Gene. Let's see. James Clear says, he said, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with my goals and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. Now, this one I really want to get in with everybody here. I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. And so Melanie says she has a system in her car. And I tell you about the complaint I have with my car. I have a goal of keeping my car clean. That's my goal. But you can hear Melanie has a system so that it works for her. I just have a goal. Reaching the goal is almost impossible without a good system. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If we want better results, then we have to focus on our systems first and our goals second. Goals set the direction, but systems are what makes the progress. Spend time designing systems. When you fall in love with the process, that is the systems, rather than the product, that is the results, you don't have to wait to be happy. You'll be satisfied anytime your system is running. True long-term thinking is goal-less thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It's about the endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. So now, I want everybody just to take a moment, grab a pen, let your head think a little bit. What are some of the systems that you already have in place that work for you? Like Melanie just shared her system in her car. Now, I'm going to share some of my systems in hopes that it might stimulate the thinking over where you are, because nobody got on here, wondering what they were going to share, etc. So because I'm vegan, not just because I'm vegan, I've done it most of my travel life in order to eat well and be on the road. So I am on the road about 200 days a year. My eating plan requires a system. So a system that I have is I have one bag that is a suitcase, small suitcase, that's strictly for food. And in that suitcase are freezer bags so that I can keep things good. That way I'm never at the effect of my hunger. I always have the right foods to eat. So that's one of my systems. Then I have a body management system. I used to belong to 24-Hour Fitness, and by the way, I still do. But in all the areas that I cover, 24-Hour Fitness is not everywhere. So I would find myself at the effect of where I was. So I joined, PF. What's PF? Planet Fitness, which seems to be everywhere I go. So now I have two gyms, one for variety in case I want to just go. They're both cheap enough, and it works for me. Another system I have, I don't think my screen shows because, yeah, here we go. I keep one notebook. Now, those of you that work with me on a coaching level know about the notebook. And the notebook, so it's one, for me, it's one college size notebook, right? And no matter what notes I'm taking, it could be personal, business, transformational, it does not matter. They all go in this notebook. And when they get completed or put away, this doesn't show, does it? Oh, there we go. I go through, can you see where I fold the pages?
No,
Can't see these folds here?
not easily.
Yeah.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah. So as it's completed, they get folded. When the notebook's done, every page is folded to the center. Just like that. And then I file it. It's a system. It works for me. It keeps me in order. It makes everything in the same place. And then my last system is my travel system. So because I do travel so much, every travel requires an airplane, a car, a place to stay. I cannot tell you guys how many times I would sit down, book my flight, get the hotel done, my phone would ring, I would end up in some issue that I had to deal with. I'd start dealing with the issue, and before you know it, I didn't book a car. I'd forget about the car. I'd be off and running on the next thing. I'd show up wherever I was going, and I'd get to the airport and be like, oh, shoot, I don't have a car. So I created a travel cover sheet, which is like a checklist, so that each thing is handled, and then it goes in my travel folder. So when I get ready to go, I open the travel folder, and everything is right there. It keeps those little dilemmas from happening. And like I said, it's not a problem if you go someplace 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 times a year. But when you're doing 15, 20, 30, 40 trips a year, it really makes a difference for me. And then a travel system is arriving at the hotel. I never do anything before I go to the hotel. So I always make sure that I land early enough that I go to the hotel. I set up my makeshift office. I set up my makeshift kitchen. I put all my clothes away. I pack my briefcase, and then I go and do whatever work I'm going to do. Almost never will I go straight from the airport to a meeting unless it's just a breakdown. And last thing is getting where I'm going. Let's say I have an 8 a.m. flight. I have a structure where I write down 8 a.m. I know I have to be there an hour and 10 minutes early. So then I write 6:50. I know it's going to take me 40 minutes to get there. So then I write 6 o'clock. You can tell I'm building in an extra 5 minutes or so. I need about an hour to get myself together, have breakfast, etc. So then I know it's 5 a.m. I always build in an extra hour because inevitably there are breakdowns that happen in the morning. Like, oh, I forgot to answer this email, or, oh, I better send this out or do that. Oh, I promised Joanne I would send her this recording or whatever. So I always build in the extra hour, 4 a.m. That's how I know what time it is to get up, and I can sleep really well because it's all been structured. That's one of my systems. Now I'll give you an opportunity to share some system that you already use that works for you. And Melanie, you're not stuck with just the one system you shared. You can share any number of systems that you might have thought of as we went.
I have some. I'll tell you some of mine.
Yeah, Robert.
So one thing I did around fitness was I noticed as I got older, my push and my drive to go out and exercise was less.
Yeah.
So I joined Orange Theory, which is the gym I belong to, because it's a group and they tell me what the fuck I got to be doing for that hour that I'm exercising.
Yes.
So that took out me having to structure something and having to have this whole thing. They do it, and they just tell me what I'm supposed to do. So that works really well. Yeah, it's a good system. And also, you have to book it in advance, and if you don't go, you get charged. So I like that. So it has that little extra incentive if I don't keep my word around it, I lose.
Yeah, very good.
So I've got tons more, but I'll.
That's a good one.
That's
Thank
just
you. Yeah, thanks a lot, Robert. Somebody else, what's a system you have that already works? Please go ahead.
I have, I do Chinese herbs, I do supplements, and I have some prescriptions. So it amounts to a lot of stuff if I had to deal with bottles. So I create like this. It's a little pack, and it tells me exactly what I have to do. And it like, this is breakfast, lunch, dinner, evening, you know. And the little gold, this is Friday. So I have different ones. Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday are green. Monday, Wednesday are pink, and gold is Friday. So I do 30 days at a time. I lay them out, do all the pills, put them in little bags. They're in an area, the drawer underneath my panties and bras. So I, in the morning when I pull out what I'm going to, the basics of what I'm going to wear, I pull out my pills for the day and carry them with me.
Boom. Yeah, good system. Somebody else, a system that you already have in place that works.
Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie.
Now, this is in the past, but it worked extremely well for me. And now that we're looking at habits, I see it was a system that I developed and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
So in my business, when I would design a kitchen, initially I had what they called a layout board. You get a 12-foot board and you map it all out full scale.
Mm.
And that worked, but every once in a while I'd have a little glitch. And then when computers came out, I bought a drawing program that was designed to design cabinets. And I used them against each other. I do my storyboard and then I check it on the computer. And then I do the computer and I check it on the storyboard, and I would find little glitches. And I could fix them in the shop, because once you get your cabinets delivered and you got to bring a cabinet back, it takes 3 or 4 days or maybe a week. And then I started keeping track. I did like about 80 kitchens. I didn't have one mistake.
Wow. Wow. Good system.
It worked well.
Yeah, that's great, Charlie. Thanks. Let's get one more system on the board from somebody. Come on.
So I have a system that I do because I'm always looking for a brochure on a different line. And so I used to keep a little file cabinet or a little file box in my car, but even that was a little bit too cumbersome.
Yeah.
So what I actually did was I got a notebook and I got plastic sheets and I put them in there. So every week I put in all of them, and then I know how many I have. So like maybe halfway during the week, if I'm out, I know to refill that. And also because I have a small car, I can't keep all that stuff in my car. So it keeps me organized and it's faster and easier to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's great, Melanie. Really awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Atomic habits. Can't change habits. Having problems changing your habits. The problem isn't you, it's your systems. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. Charlie didn't want to have glitches. The goal to have no glitches was a good goal. The problem of him having glitches wasn't something wrong with him. He needed a system, and once he got the system in place, boom. You do not rise to the level of your goals. I love this one here. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. I think that phrase right there really amplifies the importance of us thinking in systems. Outcomes are about what you get. Processes are about what you do. Identity is about what you believe. Somebody take this next slide, please.
Gene,
Thanks, Gene.
build identity-based habits. Start focusing on who you wish to become, your future self. We are in service of the future self. The cigarette story. No thanks, I'm not a smoker versus no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Shift what or who you identify with. Behavior, actions that are inconsistent with the self, future self, the who I am becoming, will not last.
It's great. Very good. So when I decided who I am, my behavior will always line up and become consistent with that. If I continually talk to myself about the loser I am, then my behaviors and actions will always line up with losing. So it's a fact. The cigarette story is really great. It wakes up something for me. So I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. This is my excuse. And in Louisville, Kentucky, you start smoking when you're 12 years old. And so I did. And I let go of my relationship with cigarettes in 1991. Now you can hear in my language, I let go of my relationship with cigarettes. I never talk about I quit anything. And one of the, and I got that, by the way, from Tony Robbins. So what happened was every time I would try to quit smoking, just the very nature of quitting created a kind of resistance to it. And the resistance, as you know, gave it more energy, which made it way harder to get away from. So what I started doing is I would say to myself, instead of, no, I don't want to smoke or I don't want a cigarette, I would change it to, I'm trading cigarettes for breathing. No, I think so I say to myself, oh, I want a cigarette. I say, no, I think I'll breathe now. And I started practicing taking really deep breaths every time I would think that I wanted a cigarette. And believe it or not, one day, just out of the blue, had a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. The whole day went by. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I realized, hey, I haven't smoked a cigarette. And I kept the cigarettes in my pocket for about 3 more days. And every day, the same kind of thing happened. And I said, oh my gosh, I think I'm free. And I was. Never smoked since. Except for in my dreams. I've had a few bad smoking dreams where I'd wake up frantic, like, oh no, I smoked a cigarette. And then I'd be so relieved. Oh, it was just a dream. So in the middle of this screen, you see there's who you are, the identity, how you relate to yourself, what you believe about yourself. Then there are the systems and processes that lay on top of that. And then the result is the outcomes, the results, the goals accomplished. Oh, it says down here, there are 3 layers of behavior to change. A change in your outcomes, a change in your processes, or a change in your identity. The change in your identity will affect everything. A new goal and a new plan will make no difference if who you are hasn't changed. I got to see something here. Okay. Sorry, I can't see this here. Okay. The ultimate form of motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this, and very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. Once it's who you are and pride gets involved, you'll fight tooth and nail to maintain your habits. True behavior change is identity change. You might be motivated to start a new habit, but the only reason it will stick is when it's part of your identity. My freaking cover sheets for my travel, you guys, is so connected to my identity. You know, they have these online TripIt and different types of things that will do similar. And people will say to me, oh, why don't you just do that? And I fight tooth and nail to keep my freaking cover sheet. It's amazing. I didn't even realize it till this moment. It's like, no, I don't want to do TripIt. No, I don't want some easier method. This fits and it works for me. It's so funny. So maybe I'm trapped by that system that I already created, that I'm not open to seeing the possibility of a new system. You can do anything once or twice, but if you don't shift the belief behind the behavior, then it's hard to stick with long-term change. We've all experienced that. Improvements are only temporary until they become part of who you are. The goal is not to read the book, but to become the reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, but to become a runner. The goal is not to learn an instrument, but to become a musician. You know what, Robert? You should steal that. The goal is not to learn the instrument, but to become a musician for your students, you know, the guitar students. Somebody take the next slide, please. Okay.
I'll go again.
Thank you, Dawn.
There is internal pressure to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that is consistent with your beliefs. You'll find whatever way you can to avoid contradicting yourself. You'll struggle with your new habits, and the only reason you won't stick is because your self-image gets in the way.
Very good. Don't get too attached to any version of yourself. Progress requires letting go. Being the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to upgrade and expand your identity. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with that behavior. In fact, I love this, you guys. The root of identity, the word identity in language, the root of that actually means repeated beingness. Is that awesome or what? Hey, and I learned another one. The root meaning, now I don't know if this is the root meaning. I might be saying this sloppy, but you know, I have this whole thing about being nice. You know, all of us are nice people, but when you go around being nice, it's nauseating. Like, you know, you're trying to be such a nice person, such a good, nice person. Well, what I learned is that nice, many, many years ago in early language, meant the village idiot. Yeah.
Wow.
We change bit by bit, day by day, habit by habit. We are continually undergoing microevolution of the self. Joanne, will you take the next one?
Sure. Atomic Habits, voting. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Meaningful change does not require radical change. Small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity.
Yeah, beautiful. Jim, do you mind generating it one more time for us?
I'm sorry, say that again, Tom?
Do you mind reading that one more time for us? You just muted yourself, though. You just muted yourself.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Thanks.
Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Meaningful change does not require radical change. Small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity.
Wow. Good to hear your voice. Thank you. Each habit not only gets results, but also that teaches you something far more important: to trust yourself. Each habit not only gets results, but also teaches you something far more important: to trust yourself.
Can we discuss that for a minute? Because
Sure.
I can totally get that in different realms. Like, for example, I consider myself a great mom, and that has opened up avenues of how to behave or not to behave that have led to that. And I trust myself to be a great mom, but I can see in other arenas, I'm kind of tenuous, like, I'm not sure I can do this, but I hope I can. And that the power in the beingness isn't as powerful because it's a hope I can, not a I am.
Because you haven't generated habits that have given you the results that tell you that you are strong in whatever it is you're talking about.
Yeah. So that component, it's all been great, like reading and the systems and that, but some things kind of hit me, and that was one of them. That's like to the soul, like, oh, that makes sense.
And if you back it into who you are, if you're somebody who trusts yourself to honor your word, then every time you honor your word, you learn that you can trust yourself for the word you give. Then you start giving your word in areas where you want to become bigger and better, and you already know you're somebody who's going to honor that. Decide the type of person you want to be. and then prove it to yourself with small wins. You will need to know who you want to be. Otherwise, your quest for change is like a boat without a rudder. Who you are today is not set in stone. You can choose the identity you want to You can choose the identity you want to reinforce today with the habits you choose today. Habits matter. Behaviors with satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those that produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated. Your habits are just a series of automatic solutions that solve the problems and stresses that you face regularly. Habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment. That's a quote from Jason Hara. That is the end of our call for today. In 2 weeks, we will do chapters 4, 5, and 6. So here's your assignment between now and then. So there's 2 weeks. Number 1, put in one new system. So generate one new system between now and the next time we meet. Number 2, determine who you want to be. And number 3, notice how you're voting. So in other words, remember, every action you take every action you take is a vote for who you want to be. So if you determine who you want to be, you're going to start noticing the votes you put in for that. Does this make sense, what I'm asking you to do?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then, of course, read or listen to chapters 4, 5, and 6. If anybody wants a copy of the recording, simply send me an email and I'll send you a link to the recording. Thank you, everybody, for being on. Is there anything anybody wants to say to complete this morning? I'm going to take that as a no.
Joanne, you're on mute. Joanne, unmute yourself.
Thank you. Sometimes, okay. So
Okay,
do you mean the recording, this recording or recording of the book?
this recording.
Okay.
Okay. Good day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thomas.
much.
Thank you, Thomas.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you, Thomas.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thomas,
Yeah, Jim?
can you just go back one slide on your PowerPoint?
Sure can. That one? This one? Behaviors with satisfying consequences, or you want this one to decide?
No, the next one.
The next one. Okay. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Good day. Stop share. In meeting.